Yo, what's poppin'? All my peeps, it is I, your host with the most renaissance man who always thinks he can, and double champion of the peeps, those around the world, and patriot Patty Pitts, back for another episode of Pitts and Sarah's Wrestling Podcast. Yup, there's a second person here. Can't do the show without her. It is the best of the West you cannot forget about. Sarah Marshall, what's poppin', girl? How we doing?
It's Sara Lee. I can't
What
say
is your
that.
middle name?
My middle name's not Lee, so.
Damn it. We were close. We were
Hey,
close.
hey, 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 hey,
Raw
to Mr. Raw
94.
94.
We're
What's
celebrating an
up?
anniversary this Monday.
Oh, yes, that's right.
There
Raw
that
30.
there it is.
I was like, wait, what?
Nah,
It made me just think
yeah.
about what day it was today. It was just tripping me out.
No, I honestly, because my new work schedule is very weird,
Mm-hmm.
where basically my week is Tuesday to Saturday. So I
Yeah.
have Sundays and Mondays off. So
Mm-hmm.
technically Saturday is my Friday, and then
Yeah.
Sunday's a Saturday, and then
Mm-hmm.
Monday everyone goes back to work, but except
Yeah.
me. And
Uh-huh.
honestly, I do like it a lot. I'm s-
Yeah.
I like having the Monday because yeah, it's the week, but it's not. You get kind of a jump start in a way if you catch my drift.
Yeah. Well, and it's kind of nice to just have like a day to yourself, you
Oh
know?
yeah, catch up on stuff and you know, I actually
Yeah.
cleaned down here last week too, so you know.
Well, look at you.
That's what champions do. We clean, we get ready, and we get hyped for the week. We got a lot to talk about here on the show. Segues are weird, but we got this week we got top 5 feuds. All right, we're 2 weeks away from the Rumble. Don't want to do full Rumble yet. We'll save that for next week when we do a little, I would say, different type of episode for predictions and whatnot. But we'll be doing all things Rumble next week instead of a
Mhm.
top 5. So be on the lookout for that. This week we're doing favorite feuds. And Sarah, you actually were the one who suggested this. I love it. One, because I don't have to come up with ideas all the time, and I love the enthusiasm you're bringing. Um, but two, you don't really think about this a lot now, because there's just so much going on. I mean, for instance, I tried to think of mine, and it was not easy just because there's so many.
Yeah, well, and I think it's kind of been a while, I feel, since we've had like a good feud or like um I don't know, like a long lasting one that had some depth to it that you were like actually super invested in. I feel like there was unless you're looking into the Attitude Era or even like mid 2000s where they were doing some crazy storylines, like mid to later 2000s. That's it's kind of been a while, I feel like, at least for me, since I was incredibly invested in something. And so that was why I was like, I was looking up what other people's were because I was like, okay, like there was a few that immediately came to my mind, but I was like, what about recent ones? Like in the last 5 years, it was like that wasn't too easy for me, but
Yeah,
um,
I know what you mean.
there's a lot to choose from, especially from Attitude Era to like 2011 or so. There's quite a few that I feel like you could choose from.
Yeah, it's there's I wouldn't say it's the lack of feuds, obviously, but lack of the ones that really suck you in and make you want to watch week in and week out.
Yeah,
Where,
well,
yeah,
that's what I kind of mean. It's just like I feel like we are in the midst of possibly having some like iconic rivalries, but especially once I was thinking about the ones in my head and then looking at other people's lists, I was like, "Oh my god, yes." But so it was just having me compare like what's been going on in the last few years, comparing it to those, and I was like, "Yeah, we haven't had one like that in a while."
yeah. I'm excited to get into that and excited to hear yours because I know
Mhm.
they're going to be vastly different from mine.
Oh yeah.
Uh, so I'm excited for that. But before we get into that, we have to start off the show with our opening segment of the week. Don't be a lemon, be a rosebud. It is lemon and rosebud of the week. Rosebud is something that we loved and it was awesome, made our wrestling week. And then lemon is just something we hated, terrible, or something we want to see improve in the future. So Sarah, do you want me to go first or?
I can say my rosebud.
All right.
Mine, of course, if you watched Tuesday's show where we were talking about Raw, one of my favorite moments of Raw was Rhea Ripley getting in the face of Solo Sikoa and the tease of intergender wrestling coming back. And I feel like Rhea Ripley is like, I say it's funny because every female wrestler that I love, I call them a queen. So if you follow me on Twitter and I'm like, Rhea Ripley is a queen, Becky Lynch is a queen, it's because I'm like obsessed with them. And
Yeah.
Rhea is one of them that I'm just obsessed with right now. And so I love the direction that they're taking her, and they're just making her such a badass. And compared to kind of how they slowly were integrating her into the main roster and kind of having her be that in the women's division, they've just gone with it like full force over the last year or two since she debuted. And
Mm.
so I'm really excited that it's going in this direction. And I just can't wait to see how she's involved in the tag team title match next week. I would love to see her win the Rumble, the Women's Royal Rumble match. I would be like so excited because imagine her in a main event match at Royal Rumble or at Mania for the women's title. Like
Who does she
so
pick?
good. Ooh. Well, if she's on Raw, she has to pick Raw, but ooh. I don't know. I would be interested to see her versus Charlotte. I feel like that could be good because I think Charlotte will be champion at Mania for sure.
Yeah.
But I don't know that Bianca would be champion because of her feud right now with Alexa. I don't know that we can guarantee that Bianca, because she's already been champion for like a year or over a year. So I just am not sure that she'll keep it. But I mean, Charlotte could definitely drop the title. She's had times where she was champion for a month, but I don't know. I don't see that happening because they put the title on her basically with her return.
Yeah, it's the best. Yeah,
Um,
that was when Sasha Banks was cursed when it came to pay-per-views. She couldn't win
yeah,
the title match in pay-per-views, but
yeah,
god damn it, main eventing Monday Night Raw, she's gonna win it.
yeah.
Those some nice
So
next gen
I don't.
analytics for you.
I don't know. I feel like I'm not really. I haven't really thought a lot about who the women's Rumble winner would be and like who they would choose. I haven't thought about it. I've just been like, Rhea, I want Rhea to win. Like that's all I want. And then I just haven't thought about it after that. Like I haven't thought about further details, but yeah,
So much
I
going
was very
on.
excited.
So much going on right now. My rosebud is not something from the actual show specifically,
Mhm.
but it was referenced on Raw when they showed the tweet of, rewinding it. They were doing their own little Raw rewind. Uh, and they were referencing how the old WrestleMania 21 vignettes, like the old movie ones.
Yeah, yeah, yeah,
With the
yeah.
hey, you talking to me?
Yeah.
With Batista and Cena and whatnot. And
Mhm.
that made my week because that means they're going to do a 2023 or this modern era's version
Yeah.
of that with like
Mhm.
potentially streaming services, potentially like, I don't know. I don't like it, social media might get added in there too because now Hollywood's not just, movies and the
Yeah.
cinema, it's the whole shebang, whole nine
Yeah.
yards. And that is exactly how it should be done this year with, WrestleMania in LA, as big as it is. Just,
Mhm.
play into the stereotype of it, where it's just, yeah,
Yeah.
the stars come out and make I honestly, with the amount of movie stars, and I use that term very, very loosely, movie stars in the, company right now, just shit like that. I think there's a lot of room where you could make that so entertaining for the fans leading up to Mania to the point where you're doing just absurd astronomical numbers on social.
Yeah. Well, and I feel, they're getting more into these pre-taped things. Like, we've seen a lot of the Dominic scenarios of him like attacking Ray, or
Yeah.
even they were integrating a lot with the Bray Wyatt matches, or
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
the Matt Hardy, the delete stuff. Like,
The
I think
foundation.
it seems like that was almost like preparing for Mania in Hollywood, because it's like they're already doing these like cinematic type of matches and stuff. So what?
You saying that just like Jimmy Neutron brain blast in my mind of
Okay.
different types of shit they could do. But
Oh,
because I agree, you're right there on that path. I love it. But
yes.
yeah, I couldn't agree more about that. So
Yes.
that was my rosebud. And then I will mention this because it is my lemon. It's sad. It's really my only lemon of the week because it was very tragic. But the passing of Jay Briscoe was very sad. He passed away in a car accident with his two daughters in the car. It's
They
very
were.
sad. Yeah, one of they gave an update. His wife gave an update on the daughter going into surgery. I am not going to quote it on here because I can't think of it off the top of my head, but I know a couple wrestlers have retweeted it, so you can find it obviously. But it was
Man,
just so sad.
that's horrible. I didn't know that.
Yeah.
That makes it so much worse. I mean, you know what I mean. That just makes
Oh
it
no,
worse because
it yeah.
they have to try to live with
Oh, that's a whole other
that
trauma.
memory. Yeah,
Yeah, that's a whole
that's
other layer of trauma
horrible.
they're gonna have to deal
Oh
with.
man,
It's
those
a really
poor
sad
girls.
story,
That is.
and it was crazy for obvious, but for me, it's weird and in a way because I watched him last month at the final battle, Ring of Honor final battle, and with them, the Briscoes against FTR. And that type of wrestling we're not gonna find in WWE. You're just not.
Mm,
But god damn it, it's fucking incredible. They made a dog collar match look unbelievable, and that would be on my bottom three of favorite match types when we get to
y-
that top five. And a month later, it's very surreal.
yeah.
And then obviously today being Mac Miller's 31st, I know that's very off top, but the point of it being that it's just so random and shit like this. Like we get so caught up in the show and everything, and it's fun, it's awesome, and everyone loves it. But then you have moments like this where it's like, wow, this is just it could be any business, and this just happened. It's tragic.
Mhm. I agree. I don't have a lemon. Well, we can just stick with that.
Let's just yeah, I think that is a good blanket for both of us
Ye-
because anytime a wrestler, let alone a prominent one like him, passed away unexpectedly, it just you see on AEW last night, and even tonight at Wrestling Open, I'm watching. I saw a few people have J armbands on their bicep to pay tribute, and then the Young Bucks even did the Briscoes tag team finishing move. So just
Mm,
shit like that is
yeah.
really, why I truly love wrestling because you can get tributes like that. Oh, and here was my real lemon. Thank God. Sometimes my rambling works out because it can spin the wheels to my real point. But I'm very mad at Warner Media. I'm very upset. And I tweeted, I quote tweeted with you made the list, but no, this really like kind of ticked me off is that they didn't want to put the Briscoes on television for they didn't want to put them on AEW or pay-per-views. And then the worst part is that they wanted to do a tribute show last night for him. And Warner Media said no. So
I don't
I
know
don't
much about him. Is there a reason? Is he like a
they're very
controversial guy?
hardcore. They're just
Okay,
very
so they're
hardcore
hardcore
wrestlers.
wrestlers. Okay.
Blood is just something that happens in a match, not something to freak out about.
Mhm.
And they're brutal, but they're so good to the point where it's not just guys beating the shit out of each other with weapons. Like there's a point to each time they use it, that type of shit. And people like that and Warner Media are not going to understand that. They're just not.
Yeah.
They're not wrestling
Yeah.
fans. So that really irked me today because I don't know. Anytime I believe any tragedy should get some sort of celebration of life. And that would have been, AEW's way, the wrestling world's way of doing it, and to have it shut down, it just they are planning though a free YouTube show that you can watch. I forget the details on that, obviously, but yeah, they're doing something like that. But that really ticked me off, we'll say. So yeah, I've done a little talking for a while, and I think that was a good blanket for both of our lemons, which leads into now we can talk about the fun topics and more exciting stuff to put us in a better state of mind, happier mood, and maybe
Mhm.
even feuding ourselves, Sarah, if you catch my drift, because we're going to be talking about our top 5 feuds, and I want to preference this for any of our listeners, our peeps out there. These are just our favorites. I'll just give you a little insight to mine. I try to pick one from each, I'll say, form of wrestling I like. So there's not,
Okay.
5 WWEs or,
Oh,
three
yeah, see, mine's all
AEWs.
WWE, so
Well, that's your,
that's me.
that's you.
Yeah. Yeah.
But so I wanted to show my side. Like I have a limitless one in there. You know what I mean?
Okay.
And so, but I've been talking for a while. Sarah, you kick things off with your first favorite feud.
Mine are never in order.
Yeah, I mean,
So,
first is pretty fair.
yeah. So, I'm gonna say one of my favorites, and you're gonna be so shocked at who's involved. John Cena and Randy Orton.
Oh my gosh, I am so shocked, Sarah.
Yeah.
Do you see
So,
the shock on my face?
but this is kind of like what I was saying, like, the late 2000s, like early 2010s. That was their era. It was very much like John Cena was the face of the company, and not that Randy Orton wasn't, but he was the top heel. I mean, we can't forget heel, like bald Randy Orton. Bald Randy Orton was
Oh,
insane. Like
evil,
he was like, yeah, like
evil.
the worst like the worst heel, but like the best. If that
No,
makes any
he
sense. So it was
he
like
personified evil in
yeah,
2009. The memes
he
I'm seeing
was
right now are
yeah.
incredible.
I know. I love to see when he randomly trends for that, and it's always like bald Randy Orton was like a whole different person. It's like, no, he really was. Like you hated him, but and you kind of almost forgot that it wasn't real life. But yeah, no, they had some really, yeah,
Wild shit
really
was
good
going on.
matches. And I felt like it was a really good pairing too, just because of how different they were. I mean, John Cena was like, he was like not just the baby face, but he was just the, WWE's baby. Like it
Oh
was
yeah.
like he was just everything that he personified WWE. It was like, especially for that time. And Randy was just the complete opposite of that. And so it just works really well together. And I feel like that was kind of like the peak of their careers too. Like that chunk in time, those like 5 years or so, it was like very John Cena,
Yeah.
Randy
Oh
at
yeah.
the time. So, yeah, as much as I hated Randy, they just had such good feuds. So,
Oh, they were really good. No, I can't disagree with you there because '09 Orton's the most evil, but '09
yeah,
Cena might be the most good, heroic type of wrestler you could possibly have, and to pair them together. And the fact that they're like best friends too. That I Quit match,
yeah,
oh, it's incredible. I remember rewatching that on YouTube. It was that
mhm,
good. All right.
yep.
My number 5 is I'm putting a tag team.
I
I'm
know I
going
have
tag
one
team
on there
here.
too.
I'm going with the OG one in my book, Hardy's Edge and Christian Dudleys.
That I have that one too.
That's yours? Oh
I have one of them.
my god!
Yeah, but I can try and find a different one because I
Oh
have
my
more than 5. So
god! We're so like on
twinsies,
point.
twinsies.
Yeah, no, it was just if that
I
I would
mean,
say set the tone for tag team wrestling in the future. Like they are pioneers in a way. They did
mhm,
have the best chemistry. They had some of the best chemistry you could possibly have. Yeah, I love them. Everything I've listened to on the Matt Hardy podcast too helps when after I've rewatched all these pay-per-views and even old Raws and SmackDowns back in college
mhm.
where they just you never knew it, but they were always intertwined with each other. For like a good 2 years, everything they did, even if it wasn't with one another, it still connected back, and you don't see shit like that anymore.
Yeah. That yeah, I mean, I feel like it was a lot of things that were going on at the same time. It was like they put tag team wrestling back like on the map where people were
Oh,
excited to
absolutely.
see it. Ladder matches, TLC match, it was just like table matches. I mean, it was everything. And it was kind of like WWE's way of having kind of like a hardcore matches without being like full on ECW at that time. But yeah, it was just like a bunch of stuff that just made it more exciting. And I don't know, I mean, it wasn't always for tag titles either. You know, like they were so good that it didn't have to be on the biggest stage and for the biggest prize. It was like, no, they just
Yeah.
had good matches all the time because that's what I kind of was talking about where on the other on Tuesday show about tag teams and how sometimes people are just so good together. And I mean, fortunately for these 4, they all had perfect, amazing, successful solo careers, but it just shows you how like you can do both. You can be really good and successful in tag teams, but you can also be solo and do it. But like it doesn't have to be one or the other. What?
You forgetting the you said 4, you forgetting the Dudleys too?
Oh, did you say do the Dudleys too? I didn't hear
Yeah,
that.
I'm putting the Dudleys in there because they're
Oh, okay.
still even when Matt that's why and I put them in specifically because of what I've just done my research, listened to from our good friends over at the Extreme Life. Like even though Edge and Christian and Matt and the Hardy Boys were all, fighting for the tag team titles or whatever, like the Dudley
Mhm.
Boys were still there. Like they were
Yeah.
still, either fighting them on a weekly basis when it came to just like grudge matches before the pay-per-view, like even backstage. Like they're always intertwined, and that's what makes a good feud is that it can just be, ongoing things here and there for
Yeah.
a month, 2 months, and then culminates in a match, or it can just be a series of matches. It could be,
Mhm.
the middle. So that's but the intertwine and like it just makes for the best feud. So that's why I have them on there. So I know I took one of yours. I'm sorry,
No, that's
but
okay.
the other
I had
Bubba Ray has had a Bully Ray now. He's had a
yeah.
fantastic career, singles career,
Mhm.
and then Devon did a
Mhm.
little bit, but no, Bully Ray, he is the I would say the yeah he's had a decent one for himself. He's I think I never mind. Continue.
Um, the first one that came to mind, sorry, I'm trying to keep up with the Celtics game right now too.
Oh my
um,
god. So yeah.
it's in overtime and Klay Thompson just fouled out. Anyway, um, the first one that came to mind, and I feel like if you are of our generation or older wrestling fan, if this one isn't on your list, I kind of question you a little bit. And that is Stone Cold Steve Austin versus Vince McMahon.
Okay, I was gonna put
If
that on there.
yeah,
And I was,
I
but
that is just one of like my favorite memories from being young and watching. You know like obviously you see the clip all the time, but it's definitely just one of my most vivid memories when I think about early on wrestling. Vince McMahon in the hospital bed, Stone Cold bringing it, pretending to be a doctor, hitting him over the head with a bedpan. Like that is one of my like favorite things ever. So I feel That's the type of thing that I feel, well, we're obviously never really gonna get that back. We kind of had a little bit of it with, like, the Authority, but I felt like it just didn't carry the same feeling of Vince McMahon, because especially that was, like, at the height, like, the pinnacle of WWE or
Oh yeah.
WWF at the time. It was just, like, so iconic that obviously it'll never be replicated. Um, but yeah, I think back on that feud, and it was an ongoing thing too, which I think is why it was the first one that came to my mind, because it wasn't just like, we were just talking about like Cena and Orton. It was just kind of like, it happened kind of throughout, but it wasn't something that was like ongoing for 5 years.
Yeah, exactly.
And
No,
and
yeah.
that just shows you like how well done it was with Vince and Stone Cold. And um there's a reason why people still talk about it, because it's just so good. So I feel like I was like, that was the first one that I thought of when I thought of this last night. And so that's why I even mentioned it. I was like, why don't we talk about rivalries, because
There
that
you
is
go.
really good. So
All right. I like that. And I was gonna say that as well, but I took it kind of a step further in a way.
mhm.
And I put Vince McMahon versus Eric Bischoff slash Ted Turner, because
Mhm.
that's a wrestling feud for anyone who doesn't get the connection. That was created, I would say, one of the greatest, if not the greatest era of wrestling, because it was the Monday Night Wars. It was incredible. I
Mhm.
mean, every week you had to you had to pick between one or the other, and the way they were going at each other, Bischoff being his pompous ass self, and how 83 weeks and they were dominating them, but then Vince comes back and obviously the attitude arises from it. But I mean, the back and forth from what I've watched, and it's incredible. I would say with Vince, there was one I oh, why is it blanking from me right now? But oh, it was the night that, and this is, I would say, like, what made it that so much special, I'd say,
Mhm. Mhm.
um, is the night that Mankind won the title. Um, Bischoff told the Nitro audience, like, trying to say, like, "Oh, stay here with Nitro. You don't wanna watch the other guys." And I don't know if this it obviously isn't verbatim, but he says, "And, oh, they have that guy Mick Foley winning their world title. Oh, what a joke." And that
Everybody like tuned out and was like, "What?"
everyone goes, "Are you fucking kidding me? Mick Foley's gonna do it?" Because he thought it was gonna be the joke, and they're gonna be like,
Yeah.
"Oh, this asshole completely, shot in
Yeah.
the foot." It's the complete
Backfired, yeah.
opposite. It's like
Mm.
David defeating Goliath, and then the way
Mhm.
that WWE does it, with Stone Cold being the one to come out and get his usual stadium type pop, and the cheers that you hear after the ref counts three. It's like it's the moment that every fan resonated with, because Mankind's just a guy. He's not this
Yeah.
big, strong, buff machismo dude with, oozing charisma. He's just a dude who loves to put his body at harm.
Yeah.
And like
And it was, yeah, and I think that, that was part of why people liked Mick Foley, was because he also just didn't look like a wrestler. Like, not even just like Vince McMahon era, like in general. He in no era did he look like a wrestler. Like
no.
maybe the 70s, like maybe, because wrestlers looked kind of weird then. But I feel like that was kind of like relatable for a lot of people, because he just seemed like such an average guy that was just living out his dream and just felt lucky to be there. But he was so passionate about what he did and would literally basically do anything to keep his job, but also was always paying attention to being entertaining. I
Oh, yeah.
mean, like, this man put his body on the line near as much, if not more, than who we were just talking about, like the tag teams that were doing crazy shit off ladders. It was like, this guy is jumping off cages, being pushed off a cage, like he's doing whatever. So yeah, I think that's kind of like part of why. he was such a beloved wrestler, character, whatever you want to say.
Yeah. I get what you mean.
Okay, let's see. I'm going to say okay, well, I'll talk about a recent one. Um, just to be kind of like different. I'm going to say Cody Rhodes versus Seth Rollins. And I know that's really fresh, but I feel like that is one of my favorites.
Well, it's your guys.
Two of my guys.
That's your guys.
I would say their trilogy was just really good. And I think it was just the storytelling behind it just made it so good. And they're both just so good in general in the ring. Like, so good. And I think that's why they were able to do 3 matches and all 3 were really good. Because sometimes when that happens, it's like, okay, yeah, a feud's going to last maybe a few pay-per-views. So we're going to see it a few times. But, the second one might be like, okay, but you're kind of over it at that point.
Yeah.
Or maybe the storyline is just not that interesting anymore. But I feel like they did a really good job at keeping that energy and keeping people invested. And it was from both of them because we know Cody's whole story of why he came back, and maybe we thought it was just going to be a one-off thing between him and Seth because, that was just his WrestleMania opponent, but it became so much bigger than that.
Oh, yeah.
And then we know that Seth was like one of Dusty's kids. So it just, that whole added underbelly of the feud just made it so good. And then, of course, the way that it ended up ending because of Cody getting injured. I feel like that's just like those 3 months in time. I think it's just going to be something that I remember for a long time.
Yeah.
Celtics win, brother.
Yes,
Win, brother.
brother.
But anyway, that's just like a few months that I'm going to remember. I know that it was only last year, but I feel, the mind games that Seth played and the passion that Cody had and the way that he has gotten so much better on the mic and speaking from the heart and from his own experience and pulling that into like how he was. I don't know. I just feel like it was such a good few months, and I'm really excited to see what ends up happening with now that we know that Cody is coming back. So
I want
that's
Seth to
definitely one of
eliminate him
mine.
from the Rumble so bad.
You what?
I want Seth to eliminate Cody from the Rumble now so bad.
Yeah.
That would be
I was just saying I
incredible.
don't want Cody to win, but it would be pretty nice if it came down to Cody and Seth eliminates Cody to go to like win the Rumble. Like I feel like that would be pretty sick. Like cuz that would be like dude, that would be like so good because okay, so I don't really want to see them continue their feud. And Cody's kind of already talked about, well, in his vignettes was like, I'm not thinking about Seth. Like, I'm past that. Like, I'm moving past that. Right. But obviously, Seth's going to be pissed when he comes back because he lost all 3 times to Cody.
All 3 times.
So now that they're going to be in the Rumble, what is the best way to get revenge on Cody than by throwing him out of the Rumble and snatching away his chance at a title and Seth getting it? Like that is like the last chapter of their story from last year. Like that's the best way, because then at that point, why would Seth care that he lost 3 times last year? It didn't mean anything, but Cody came back to win the title, and if you're taking that away from him, that makes you the king. You won the war. He might have won those 3 battles, but you won the war.
Yeah, exactly. I like that. There you go. There you go, girl. That was a championship take out of you.
I like it.
All right. Did you go?
Anyway.
So yeah, that was you. So I'm next. Going with the indie scene. And I'm putting this as my favorite because it was the first championship type of feud I was introduced at Limitless. Alec Price and Ace Romero. I watched these dudes beat the shit out of each other around the arena. And I mean legitimately around, from the entrance ramp to my entrance ramp coming in, the exit door for them. And then the match they had, it was Falls count anywhere. Special referee was like another limitless guy, whatever. But that match,
Mhm.
I still have clips that I show friends of Ace putting Alec Price, who is soaking wet, 150 pounds, I think, through a door because no tables there. It was door. A wiffle ball bat with thumbtacks on it, and he was beating the
Oof.
shit and it was all for the limitless title, and it was like three type of matchups where, your regular one that I forget what happened, and then you had one that it just got so out of control they had to get like the security, to come out, and then the announcement where it's like this is the be all end all, and it's no rules, false count anywhere, all that. It was just one of the first introductions to me to Alec Price, who's one of my favorite wrestlers right now. So
Mhm.
that feud's always going to stick with me when I think of Limitless. So it's got to be in there for the feuds, fair feuds.
I think it's a good one. I mean, I think I mean, I if I were more, I guess, well-rounded with wrestling, then I would include more than WWE, but it is what it is. Like
That's
stick
what
with
we're
WWE
getting 2023.
and a
That's
little
your
bit of WCW. Uh
WCW.
WCW. But this is one I want to talk about, and I want to mention some women because shout out to the ladies. um
The ladies.
so I have to mention Trish Stratus versus who? Who's your guess? Who am I gonna say?
Candice Michelle.
No, Mickey James. Why would you?
I
How
was
dare
being a
you?
dick. I
So Trish
was
Stratus
it really Mickey
versus
James?
Mickey James. Huh?
Oh, I thought
What?
you put Lita. Oh, I like this Mickey James though. Go
I
with
like
it.
Mickey. Yeah, well, that's what I'm saying. I didn't say Lita. I said Mickey James.
I know. I'm interested to
Uh,
hear this.
I first of all, I think that this was early in Mickey James' career. It's basically her debut. She was, an alleged fan in the audience that then became obsessed with Trish. Can you blame her? No. Um,
I'm a
and I just think, they have one of the most iconic WrestleMania matches ever, so much so that it's like edited. I don't you have to kind of like look for the
oh,
like legitimate match and like shout out
mm-hmm.
to fucking Mickey James for that shit. I'm just saying, like this girl is still wrestling and the fact that this was her first feud is like, I feel like that just tells you a lot because at that time, especially 05, 06, Trish was like the GOAT of the locker room. So the fact that that was like her first feud and that they have some of the best matches in that time for women, amazing. Um, and yeah, I don't know. I'm biased because I love both of them, but I just felt like it was kind of nice to see Trish have like a real feud because obviously like you already said, one of her biggest and most contentious feuds was always with Lita, and at this time Lita was kind of like not really around, so it was like, okay, let's see Trish do something else. And it with Trish, it was just cool to see too, like how her career started. She was just a valet or a manager, and she ended up, she came in as just a fitness model, and she ended up learning how to wrestle. And there's a reason that she's still being talked about, this many years later, because she's one of the like pillars of women's wrestling and what it is today. And Mickey James is too. She's just not in WWE right now, but yeah, no, that is a feud and matches that I still like. When I want to watch a good women's match, I actively will go and watch theirs because it was just so good. And it was so um it wasn't surface level either. Like
Mm-hmm.
their feud was a little controversial for the time, and I would say even now
I
there's some
would say now very much,
yeah,
yeah.
there's some
Very much.
controversial aspects to it, which was nice to see though, because I mean, especially that era wasn't too bad for women's wrestling. But it was still kind of not um not not well thought out or deep rooted storylining. It was just kind of like, okay, you're the champion, here's your next person, or oh yeah, you guys are going to go wrestle for a couple minutes or whatever. Here's another bra and panties match. Like there wasn't a whole lot of depth
No.
to the
Yeah.
storylines, and this was like the epitome of that. So I felt like I had to, those are my girls. Trish
Yeah,
is
they
like
should
my girl. So,
It was that was as good as it was going to get at that time for a good women's rivalry or women's feud,
mhm. Yeah.
without the use of, just let's throw them in a brown panties match and
Yeah.
get the crowd testosterone going.
Mm.
Which not a bad idea either. Not a bad marketing tool. All right, moving on from Temptation. My next feud is a combination of a WWE and TNA.
Okay.
Cena AJ Styles.
Yes.
This
Oh my gosh.
feud,
No, I thought about that one because isn't that the one where Cena tried to do like a Hurricane Rana or something like that? Or he did do it?
yeah, he did a Hurricane Rana.
And you guys were saying that he only had the like 3 moves of doom. How dare you?
This feud made both of these guys for different reasons.
Mhm.
For Cena, it was exactly what you're alluding to. Yeah, he's just the big guy who can't wrestle. John
Yeah.
Cena, one of the most underrated wrestlers of all time, and it's asinine that I have to say that
Yeah.
because the man can work in the ring. I think if he never did an Iron Man match, I'd have to go back and look to see, but he's someone that could easily do that type of match, and even his I Quit matches were incredible. His other types of matches where there wasn't any, um, anything on the line, and then you flip it for AJ Styles, okay, and
Mhm.
obviously AJ Styles is Mr. Wrestling. I mean, yeah, he's
Yeah,
Tom Brady of wrestling.
but this was early in his WWE tenure.
Exactly, and he was
Yeah.
fresh off TNA New Japan, that style or, that realm, and it's
Yeah.
like, can this guy who was the guy, like the Brady GOAT of, the ring, can he come over and, do the same thing in WWE? And he fucking crushed it. His match with Cena at their match, at Royal Rumble is one, I think, top 5 best WWE match I've seen in the past, like, 10 years. It was so
Mhm.
good, and then the whole, I think it was right after the Rumble, they had they met in the ring, then the OC come out, and you think that, Cena and AJ Styles are gonna take them on. No. Turns right back, goes with his boys, and then you get the, wait, suplex John Cena? Was it wait, what was the thing that they said every week? Oh, it's gonna annoy me. They used to say
I
something
don't
every
remember.
week about John Cena, but point is that they were just all this stuff where it was so good. It was wrestling and sports entertainment came together and gave us this great feud.
Mhm.
I'm looking this up.
Yeah, and I think that's kind of it's funny when that match happened for Cena too, because obviously he had been around for so long and people had already made up their minds about how they felt about him. It was either you were a big fan or you were a big hater. And so I think at that point, people who didn't particularly care for him um weren't necessarily looking to give him any sort of credit for how he performed in that match because they just assumed that AJ was just going to run circles around him. And that's not what happened. And I think that's kind of why when you say that he's like underrated, he's underappreciated in that aspect. And I think it is because um not only was he the face of the company for so long, but then also it was, the type of wrestler that he was, it was just because of how he was built. That's kind of like what Vince wanted. He wanted it to be like, okay, you're a big superhero type of guy, so that's how you have to perform. You can't be like doing high spots and whatever. But it's funny because I think that, now that he's kind of been in and out of wrestling, I guess it's kind of been like the last 5 or so years, people are kind of learning to have appreciated him more. I mean, I remember it was not too long after I moved here. And so that was like 10 years ago. But I remember it was after SummerSlam. I had gone to SummerSlam. No, I went to SummerSlam Access. I skipped it. It was the last year it was in LA. So it was 2013.
Mhm.
And then they went to Raw in Vegas. And then they did SmackDown in Phoenix. So we went to Access, then we stopped in Vegas, went to Raw, and this was when he was against Lesnar. And so then he wasn't there on Raw because he was supposed to have like been murdered
Mhm.
basically. And I was really bummed because I was like, oh man,
Mhm.
I wanted to see my man. And then and I was front row in his shirt, and I was like, come on,
That's
I just want you
that's
to
brutal
see
luck.
me. And then I was front row at SmackDown and I was like, he's not gonna be here. And he was seen like back, like walking into the arena. So when we got there, I was like, are you kidding me? Like, oh my God, there's no way. There's no way Cena's here. He comes out not even for the dark match, like not at all. Like that's not what he was doing. He literally just comes out to just be like, hey, like, I'm sad. I'm sorry that I wasn't here tonight or whatever. And even him at that point where he was being heavily booed, that was the loudest I had heard people cheer for John Cena, and I couldn't even tell you how long. And it's like I can't imagine where it's at now because it's like now people are like, oh, okay, maybe it 2014? No, it was 2013. Whatever, David. Um, so yeah, I think that people are kind of like finally acknowledging like how much of an impact he had on wrestling and that maybe they were kind of wrong to boo him all those years or not acknowledge how much he actually did during his time.
Agreed. Agreed. I will only chant against Cena when it's against The Rock,
Ooh.
or if we get the crowd chanting to his music, John Cena
Yeah, but
sucks.
see, the thing I love
John
about that is like
Cena
it's at the Kurt
sucks.
Angle level
Exactly.
now where it's like you're just doing it because you're supposed to.
That's the thing. Like I don't think of it because I'm actually believing it. I'm saying because that's like the most catchy tune to
Yeah.
have his theme song to. I don't know. It was
Yeah.
awesome.
So speaking of John Cena, my last favorite rivalry is John Cena versus CM Punk. Yeah, I am slightly, I mean, other than the fact that it's John Cena, and that's why I'm a little biased. I am also a little biased because I was going to a bunch of shows and I went to the SummerSlam where they fought for the titles. So, and this is when that's the year that John Cena threw me his shirt and talks to me from the ring. And so because I don't know, do you know I have John Cena shirt, right?
Yes, yes.
Like
If
one that
I
he
know the
actually
story of when he yeeted
okay.
you the shirt, yeah.
Okay. Yeah, I was like well, you were looking at me for a second like I didn't know.
No.
Um but anyway, yeah, so that was kind of, another one that's similar-ish to the Randy Cena one, but what was weird about this one was kind of like two baby faces against each other, but it was like Punk was supposed to be the bad guy because this is when he was doing the pipe bombs and, talking all his shit to Triple H and whatever. So it was like technically he was supposed to be the bad guy, but he had such a huge following that it was like it wasn't happening. It was like Cena was the bad guy because people just
Mhm.
hated him. Um, but I feel, yeah, that's another one that I'm gonna remember forever because it was just so iconic with Punk winning the championship, blowing a kiss, taking pictures
Oh,
of the championship in his fridge,
right.
yeah,
Right right into the night.
yeah, and then Cena winning, and then they both have the titles, and they don't want to give it up. It's very similar to stuff that happened in the '90s with like HBK when he was suspended and whatever. But yeah, I think that was kind of it was another. I feel like that was peak CM Punk in
Oh, yeah,
WWE.
the Summer Punk.
Yeah, but I feel like Cena doesn't get credit for that either, and
No, we want
that's what I'm here to do. I'm here to give Cena credit for that too, because I
we
mean,
love
like
that.
Punk had a great summer in part because of John Cena. So, shout out
Yeah.
John Cena.
Alright.
I
I'm
mean, I
always
have,
here for a John Cena stand.
my whole shelf dedicated to John
Yeah,
Cena.
exactly. I mean,
Well,
why
not
wouldn't
all of
you?
it. My Funkos aren't all John Cena, but
Maybe we need a John Cena
well,
Funko.
I have you can't see them, but I have two
Of
Cena
course I can't
Funkos.
see it. No one can see
Yeah,
John Cena.
two Cena. Oh my god, two Cena Funkos here, and then all the other ones are. Let's see. I have two Finn Balor's, Trish Stratus, Razor Ramon, Eddie Guerrero, and the NWO. Yeah, that's who I have. All my Funkos.
My number one feud is it was a close, but it's Rock Mankind.
Okay.
These guys, first off, The Rock being my all-time favorite wrestler ever, but Mick Foley, Mankind, whatever face you want to call him,
Mhm.
it's my favorite because I mean, I've referenced the tape that I watched as a 3-year-old 100 times. I watched Rock Bottom Mankind on the car, and I'm like, oh, they fought. Oh, was it like a hardcore match? Like, oh, that's
Mhm.
so cool in the attitude. They did that, like whatever. And then I get older and you start to learn more about the industry and the
Yeah.
business, and
Mhm.
you realize that The Rock and Mankind had one of the greatest feuds in company history, and the fact that I would say, started at Survivor Series 98 with a kayfabe, not a legit, but kayfabe Montreal screw job where,
Mhm.
The Rock goes into this tournament and you think that it's, an Austin effect where it's, everyone against the people's champ, the boss against the people's champ, and he's so over, but then he sold his soul to the devil to get that championship, becomes the corporate champion, and then Mick
Mhm.
Foley and him just go on having banger after banger after banger of matches. I mean, from the empty arena to the I Quit match that honestly caused Mick Foley's kids some trauma. If you watch that Beyond the Mat Doc, and what else? It was the ladder match too that ended it, uh,
Mhm.
and it was just so good. Like I can't. I could watch that feud over and over again because the two of those guys are so different but so similar, and the fact they became tag team champions
The Rock and
together.
Sock
It
connection,
is my
baby.
favorite tag team. Like, these guys are the best. It's basically the friendships that I have with the friendship I have with my buddy Big Ben, is that he's the cool guy who doesn't like he's not as energetic. He's just like when he walks in the room, it's like, oh, that guy's cool. You can tell.
Mhm.
And then I'm like the McFoy. It's like, hey, Rock, I was working on this thing that we got. Like, that dynamic gets me every time. And it was awesome. Oh, I could just sit here and talk about it for a whole episode, but we won't bore you there yet. We won't bore you there yet. But those are our feuds. Let us know what you guys think of our feuds by following us on Twitter at Pat_Pitts, at SMarshXO. And then on Instagram, follow me at Pitsy35, where I post stories and whatnot. And now it's time for the 3 count. One, we're doing the peep section. All right, Jade Cargill has the baddie section. I'm not a baddie. I don't think I ever will be, but we do have our peeps here. So, and usually we haven't been good with getting the comments up, Sarah, and I'm going to take blame for that because the conversation's been good. We've been getting a lot out there, a lot to talk about. But I do want to highlight a couple of these that I saw, these comments, because I do want to give it. Obviously, David, the Briscoes FTR was incredible. It absolutely was. I would say one of my favorite matches I've watched this year. I will absolutely watch this match. I actually will make a note of that to watch that because I love Kevin Steen. I think we all do.
You do?
I'm obsessed with Kevin Steen.
I'm obsessed with Pretty Deadly, so
Yes,
I
boy.
even tweeted that to them and they didn't respond and I felt bad
That's
about myself.
very rude of them.
I know, I even tagged them. I was like, "I am obsessed with you," and I tweeted both of them and then they didn't respond and I was
That's
like, "How
so
dare
rude of
you?
them.
How dare you?"
How dare you? First off, how dare you? Uh, that's it. You gave the Cena, but I saw that and chuckled a bit because Reverend
Mhm.
Devon, one of my favorite characters to throw over the top rope and SmackDown Shut Your Mouth, in when he comes out and it's just Reverend Devon, and you're like, oh, they don't have the Dudleys in this game. It's Bubba Ray Dudley and Reverend Devon. Weird.
Mm.
David's number one feud would be Rock and Austin. I don't think there was anyone that ever topped that feud. Shit was pure magic, and there's nothing that could ever top it. I love how he's just standing with this, which honestly not the worst hill to die on because I'm right there with you, except for the Mankind part. Rock and Austin are one of the few feuds to ever main event 3 WrestleManias. Um, and the fact that they main evented 17 and it was the Austin heel turn, obviously 15 being, another Austin era win, but then 19, the whole fact that, the match almost didn't even happen, with him in
Mhm.
the hospital the night before and the neck stuff. And, after the match, Rock just leaning down to him and saying thank you and stuff. It was, that's a feud. And I'll tip my cap to David there, because you don't see those feuds anymore. I think we already said it already with, Seth Rollins and Cody Rhodes, I think are the ones that are resurging, it would be the right word,
Mhm.
but I like that. Everyone, we loved Stacy Keibler and Tori Wilson, Bra and Panties feud. That's our
No,
favorite.
we did not. I don't know what you were
Remember
talking about.
WrestleMania 19, they had, or was it 19 or 22, they had a pillow fight. That was a match.
I don't know.
Um, and then I did want to answer this question, obviously. So fun fact, as much as big as a Dwayne The Rock Johnson fan I am, I've never seen him live. I have never gone to a show
No,
or seen him live.
I have only seen him once, and that was when I think it was the second match that he had with Cena. Um, and yeah, it was at like a Raw or SmackDown. I can't remember. I would have to look back at the photos, but yeah, no, that was the only time that I had. Well, and that's like I hadn't seen the Hardys live until I went to Raw in 2017, and that was when I saw. I think it was the Hardys and Finn Balor, or at least Jeff Hardy and Finn
Ooh,
Balor. I know I was like, oh, that was
that's
mean.
a
But yeah, no,
oh,
it's really weird to think about those types of things when you grow up watching someone and you're like, oh, I love them so much. And then you're like, wait a second, I actually have never seen them in
never seen.
person. So yeah, that was yeah, I've only seen him as like on the mic. Like I don't know, maybe he played a concert or something. I don't even know, but I would have to go back and look. It was when he was wearing the boots to asses shirt. I know that.
Yeah, I love that shirt. I'm
Yeah.
just thinking about this now. I don't think I've ever seen The Undertaker either.
I know. I'm like, I don't think I have. I don't think I have either.
I've
Um,
seen Stone Cold.
I haven't seen Stone Cold.
Although I did see Hulk Hogan. I saw Hulk Hogan's last match in WWE ever in Boston, Massachusetts.
I feel like I would have to look back and see like what shows I went to, and then be like, okay, who did I see? Because
Yeah.
I'm trying to think of like, I know for a long time I didn't see Triple H,
Okay.
and I don't remember. I think I saw Triple H wrestle. I'm pretty sure. Yeah, didn't he wrestle Brock Lesnar at SummerSlam?
Who? Triple H?
Yeah.
Yes.
Okay, so I saw him then. Yeah.
Yes, they fought.
Um,
That was a decent match. From what I remember, it was
okay,
pretty good.
yeah, so but it's just weird to think about those things because I'm like, "Oh yeah, wait, no, I haven't seen that person." So I would have to think. But yeah, I mean, I know I haven't seen Stone Cold, otherwise I would be like, I would have been pissing my pants had I seen him live, but
I
yeah.
still want to see. That's like bucket list type shit. The Kung Pao bitch. Yeah,
That might have
maybe.
How do you know this? This is like from like
I want your memory.
2011.
I want your
No, it's
memory.
because he's in love with The Rock. That's why.
So am I. Well, not that way.
Yeah. Well,
I
you
just
don't
want The Rock to like be
adopt
my
you,
be my pal.
be your daddy. Is that what you want?
Just my pal. I just
All
want to hang
right.
out with The Rock. I think The Rock could get me jacked.
All right.
All right. Two. Face the Foley anniversary. For anyone who does not know this hilarious Rumble fact, because we're in Rumble season, my favorite season, the champ's favorite season. Today is the 25, I think it is, 25-year anniversary of the first time one man has competed in a Royal Rumble 3 times. How did he do it? Just ask him. Mick Foley's 3 personas came to life. Cactus Jack started the match. I don't know who came out second, but the point is that Mankind
Dude Love was
and
last. It was Mankind. Or yeah.
tomato
I
potato. Point is
yeah.
that 3 all three Face of Foley appeared in the Rumble. It's never been done after that, and I I love this so much because this is where the sports entertainment element comes in, where if you're not a fan, I would say a little, the casual fan, I'd say, you're gonna be like, "That's what is this? That's ridiculous." But
Yeah.
for the wrestling fan to see all three faces come out, it was like it's one of those moments that just make you really appreciate the sport or the entertainment, the show of it. It was awesome, like
It was such a brilliant idea, whoever
brilliant detail.
that
Yeah.
was like, "We need to do this," because I think it's, like, one of those things too that it happened at the right time. Like, if that were to happen right now, it would be so lame, but back then, it was like everything was so real because all you knew was what you saw on TV. You didn't, or if you saw it in person, there
Mhm.
wasn't the internet, social media, dirt sheets. Like there wasn't this type of stuff. So like to that, it was like there probably were a lot of people out there that legitimately thought that they were three different people. Like it's possible that those people existed. So that made it more fun. Whereas now it's like it wouldn't work,
No.
and so it was like that era, it was just a brilliant move.
Yeah, it was awesome. And then 3 predictions for the week. What do we think's going to happen? What do we want to happen? What do we want to manifest right now into the wrestling stratosphere? See what you
I
think.
am hoping that we get another. I don't know. I want some more intriguing Uncle Howdy stuff on SmackDown because we're getting closer to the Rumble. We're gonna be only like what, a week out. So, we saw Uncle Howdy appear on the last two Raws. So I want to see what happens with Bray. I want to see something more with LA Knight too, because I feel like we're not really seeing a lot of him. So something like that. I hope we get to see him. Um, but yeah, I think that if we get something with Howdy tomorrow, it might be more of an indication whether or not he's going to be there at SummerSlam. So I feel like I'm not SummerSlam, Royal Rumble.
My manifestation right now is I want there to be a guest at the acknowledgement ceremony
Oh
that
yeah.
is like a ridiculous way back legend or just hilarious connection to the bloodline
Mm-hmm.
that
Oh my god. Like Sammy's family.
I didn't even think of that, but I
Oh
keep
my
going like
god.
that type of like what if Sammy's
Sammy's like
family,
grandpa or something.
or what if like it's a like an old Samoan wrestler like Captain Lou Albino, or is he dead? I think he might be dead.
I
That
don't
was
know.
bad. I don't know. But some like ridiculous, like someone that's just out there. Like honestly, Tamina. Like if Tamina just came out and was just standing there.
Well, I mean, she's still employed, but yeah, like imagine like Naomi makes her return by being there.
That's what,
Like
like something
yeah.
ridiculous like that. That
I
she's just
really
there.
yeah, I just want to see like some of Sammy's family because I feel like that just makes it so much funnier.
Oh yeah.
Because it's like not only has Sammy been like accepted and like he's like fought his way into the bloodline, it's like, oh, his family is so excited to be a part of the bloodline too. Like I just feel like, and they're just a bunch of like white ginger haired guys. Like it would just be so funny.
White ginger Canadians just
Yeah.
showing up to the Samoan bloodline
It would just be so funny.
acknowledgement ceremony.
Yeah.
That'd be awesome. Oh, I
Yeah.
can't wait. Let us know what you guys want to happen this week or what you don't want to happen by letting us know on Twitter at Pat_Pitts and at SMarshXO. And then follow me on Instagram at Pitsy35. Subscribe to Sarah's YouTube channel it's youtube.com/ at Sarah Marshall XO for all of these episodes. We have the Raw Rewind, which I will get those clips up tomorrow. That was a great show that we did on Tuesday. And then we'll be back on Saturday with our SmackDown breakdown from all the events that happened tonight. If you are listening to this on the podcast, which, yes, this is not just a YouTube series and live series of live shows. This is a podcast as well. This is and we are on Apple, Spotify, and everywhere else that you can get podcasts. Sarah Pitts and Sarah's Wrestling Podcast. So go subscribe, rate us 5 stars, and leave us a great comment. Let us know what you want to see. We want to see from our fans, our peeps. We like to listen to them because when a champ speaks, you listen, and I like to return the favor. So we'll be back on Saturday for the breakdown. Until then, thank you guys for tuning in. God bless. And remember that you can do it. All you got to do is try. We'll see you next time.